Hey, Life Group leaders. We are starting a new series, 4-week series this week called In God We Trust. This week is Pleasure is Fleeting.
Yeah.
So you can imagine what that might be about, although maybe not. Maybe it'll be a little bit of surprise.
Maybe.
So Jim, tell us what the series is going to be about. I think it's a little different than maybe we've done in the past on this subject.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to always hit the same issues, which is we're not going to be talking primarily about money and what you have to do, but asking some bigger questions. Why does money have such a hold on us? And then getting at the heart of the issue, which is how well do we trust God? How well do we line up with His understanding? And so this week we're going to be dealing with the issue of pleasure and how we can find a tremendous amount of enjoyment and joy and pleasure in the material things that we gain from this world. And then really kind of hitting at it primarily at the level of pleasure has a temporary hold on us. And I spent a lot of time yesterday thinking about all the things that I think are really, really cool that I've had. I have in the top drawer of my in my bedroom an old iPhone 3GS. And I mean, literally, it's a paperweight.
Yeah.
And yet I remember getting it and thinking,
In its day, it was
this
like,
is incredible.
wow.
This is incredible.
Yeah.
And right now it's just sitting in my top drawer, right? So it's a kind of a healthy reminder.
Yeah.
The car that I bought, which I'm not a big fancy car guy, but the car that I got a number of years ago, man, I'm just so glad I have this, and now it's just my car.
Yeah.
And so where did that go? And this is just my house. So where do those things, now I can either keep trying to feed the monster, or I can recognize that all of these things have a very short shelf life. And so that's why we're not going to be looking at the kind of the money is bad picture or you need to try to avoid it. We're really going to be dealing with the in God we trust. So we trust Him to find our greatest level of enjoyment and pleasure as opposed to the things that God provides. And so when we take the things that God provides and put them over the provider, it's bound to disappoint, to frustrate, to depress. And so that's kind of what we're going to be hitting at for the whole series. So This week we're going to be talking about pleasure, but we're also going to be talking about security and identity and other things as well.
So in times past, when I've experienced sermon series on money and wealth, it can be awkward. People don't like talking about it. It's, you're getting into my personal stuff here, particularly with the American mindset of independence that we have. Why do you think it's so difficult / awkward to talk about? But why do you think we need to, especially in the context of church, deal with this issue?
I think that there has been such a tremendous amount of pressure been put on the church out of a number of bad examples, right? So there's a number of bad examples that we know about, the prosperity gospel people who describe
TV preachers
who, and by the way, they're not just promising that God's going to give you all this stuff. They're at the same time telling you that how much you give them is going to be the corresponding amount. It's proportional to your blessing. And so when I hear that, I'm just going, ugh. So that I think is such a big issue. And the other, so here's what we've learned is I believe that we have learned how to pretend that money isn't an issue for any of us. Like I don't know anybody who says my primary issue is greed. Primary Christian people, right? My primary issue is greed. My primary issue is more, and I find my greatest enjoyment and pleasure and security in money. Nope. We know how to say with our mouths things like money can't buy happiness and it can't buy the most important things in life.
We know the right answers.
We know the right answers, but that's really not how we live. That's really not how we live. And I would even say just how sensitive this topic is, just the fact that I've got to address how complicated this is. Like I don't have to do that with marriage. I don't have to do that with the workplace. I don't have to give a 5-minute explanation.
Here's why we're talking about
I'm
this.
sorry. I mean, I hear preachers all the time that say this. Hey, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I'm going to have to talk about money, but Jesus talks about money. Like, I'm not sorry. I'm really not, or as we say in Canada, I'm not sorry to talk about this subject matter. So that, I think, is the complexity of it. And the reason why we keep coming back to it is because it so is a great barometer of our heart. And it's a barometer of my heart. And so that's why we need to keep addressing it, because it affects family, it affects relationships, it affects my job, it affects how I plan for my future, it affects everything.
It's one of the biggest issues in divorce, I think, oftentimes.
Yes.
Conflict over money.
Yes.
Yeah.
The reason why you might be finding joy at work, or the reason why you're not finding joy at work. Money just seems to be, whether we want to lie about it or tell the truth about it, money is such a great indicator of where things are at.
Well, it drives labor and resources and energy and attention. I mean, money does tend to manipulate things in the world a lot.
So we're not going to lie about it. We're gonna take this thing. We're going to address what it is and what it isn't. And then here's the other thing I want to say about this. I can't remember who started this statement. I want to say it's almost like Augustine, but somebody made the comment that the two ways to approach any subject that are unbiblical are, one is to totally abuse any issue or any topic, to just totally embrace it without any kind of restraint is sin. And then the other easy way to deal with things is to just totally abstain from it, right? Yeah. So the two ways is to become this person who, with unbridled, with total unrestraint, complete lack of restraint, I'm going to deal with wealth that way. Or you know what? I'm going to just be scared of wealth.
I'm going to aesthetic.
Which for us, a lot of us in our world, I mean, you have to be pretty irresponsible, right? Nobody thinks they are. Everybody thinks the reason why they have no money has nothing to do with the fact that whatever.
Sure.
It's it's completely
somebody else.
It's completely detached from anything in my life or heart. So I don't want to talk about, or I don't want us to think abuse is okay or abstinence on this issue is okay. But let's find the biblical understanding of God, and then everything how it fits underneath that.
Everything else flows from that.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm really excited about this because I know how deep we're going to dive into the more fundamental issues that underlie how that all plays out in our life. So for our life group leaders, what would you want them thinking about or preparing to do in order to be prepared to lead their group through conversations about this topic?
Let me challenge you to do a personal inventory and then to share that. Like we're telling everybody in the primer to come Sunday prepared to deal with like a personal inventory of how you really feel about money. And I would think that as a life group leader, I really want to challenge you to not only do that inventory, but to be honest. You don't have to make yourself worse. I'm the worst guy in the world. I'm the most greedy. I mean, sometimes we exaggerate some things, but to share your struggles as a couple. If you're comfortable with that, and I would even want to kind of push you towards a little bit of uncomfortable with that. Yeah. So I think there can be a healthy dialogue that needs to begin, and I want to challenge you as life group leaders to be prepared to deal with that direction. The other thing I would tell you is you can either take a look at the Proverbs or Ecclesiastes. It'd be a great example. And in the life group resource, I've got a number of different texts, and you can take a look at those. And there are others. But take a look at some of those things and see how does the Bible talk about it, particularly Matthew 5, 6, and 7, which is the Sermon on the Mount, and take a look at how does Jesus describe some of these issues of money and what do we need to be looking at. And so I would say an inventory and then kind of a prepared discussion using the questions that we have on how to know the truth and then respond to that truth would be the best way to prepare for life group this week.
Response is important.
Response is critical.
You can know the truth, but if you don't respond, you're kind of missing it.
What's the point?
You're missing it. Well, guys, we appreciate you loving and leading the folks in your groups very much. It means more than you can understand to us that we have others ministering alongside of us in various contexts within the church. We love you. We look forward to Sunday, and thanks again. See you then. God bless.